Let me start with some numbers that might surprise you. If we look back at the data from 2025, AI companies directly created around 145,000 jobs in the United States. During that same 12-month period, AI-related layoffs affected roughly 68,000 workers. So if we're being purely mathematical about this, looking in the rearview mirror, AI was actually a net positive for employment last year. But here's the problem with that math. It's dangerously incomplete. The people who got those new jobs aren't the same people who lost them. A machine learning engineer in San Francisco and a customer service representative in Ohio exist in completely different labor markets. And that disconnect is where the real story of 2026 lives. We are now deep enough into this transition to stop guessing and start analyzing. So what's actually happening right now? Let me walk you through it without the fear-mongering or the toxic optimism that dominated the headlines 2 years ago. First, let's do an honest assessment of the losses we've seen. According to finalized data from tracking firm Challenger, Gray, and Christmas, job cuts in 2025 that were directly attributed to AI hit record highs. We saw this trend accelerate in the fourth quarter of last year. While AI was responsible for a single-digit percentage of total layoffs, it was the highest AI-attributed figure ever recorded. And as we move through the first quarter of 2026, we're watching that percentage climb. The tech sector, as expected, has been ground zero. We saw massive waves of layoffs in 2024, followed by another significant correction in 2025. Companies stopped using euphemisms. They increasingly cited AI restructuring and automation efficiency in their quarterly reports. But here's the pattern most people miss. It's not the blue-collar jobs that were hit hardest. Forget the factory floor. The most significant displacement is happening right now in white-collar, entry-level positions. The predictions from Bloomberg Research back in 2024 are becoming our reality. We are seeing AI handle over 50% of market research analyst tasks and nearly 70% of Tier 1 sales representative tasks. Graphic design firms have shrunk their junior staff. Call centers are automating at a pace we haven't seen before. Customer support teams that used to have 30 people in 2023 are now operating effectively with 7 people and a suite of AI agents. This has created a specific crisis for one demographic. Goldman Sachs data showed that unemployment among 20 to 30-year-olds in tech-exposed occupations rose significantly throughout last year. That's notably higher than their same-aged counterparts in other fields. If you're a recent college graduate trying to break into tech, finance, or marketing right now in 2026, you're competing in what is objectively the toughest entry-level market in a decade. Now, here's where I need to push back on the narrative you've probably been hearing on social media. The idea that AI is creating mass unemployment across the entire economy doesn't match what we're actually seeing in the macro data. PwC analyzed close to 1 billion job postings for their global AI jobs barometer. What they found, and what holds true today, is counterintuitive. Even in occupations most exposed to AI, job numbers are still growing. They're growing slower than in AI-resistant fields, but they are growing. And here is the key metric. Wages in AI-exposed industries are actually rising twice as fast as in less exposed industries. The pie isn't necessarily shrinking, but the slices are being cut very differently. The World Economic Forum's updated projections still suggest that by 2030, we will see a net gain of millions of positions globally. But global projections are tricky because they obscure regional pain. A net gain globally doesn't help you if your specific role in your specific city just got automated. So what explains the discrepancy between the scary headlines we see every day and the relatively stable aggregate numbers? The answer is job transformation versus job elimination. Most positions aren't disappearing entirely. They're changing unrecognizable. A financial analyst who used to spend 3 days building a model now does it in 2 hours with AI assistance, then spends the rest of their time on higher-level strategic work. The job still exists. The job description, however, has been completely rewritten. But this transformation creates its own problems, specifically something we have been calling the silent layoff. This has been the defining trend of the last 18 months. It doesn't show up in the nightly news because it's not dramatic. There are no mass firings, no security guards escorting thousands of people out of the building on a single Friday. What happens instead is much quieter. When a 5-person team can do the work of 20 using the new agentic AI tools we have now, you don't fire everyone immediately. You just stop hiring. The job technically exists on the organizational chart, but the pipeline into it has collapsed. This is the low-hire, low-fire environment we are living in. Recent reports suggest that nearly 40% of companies are actively replacing entry-level roles with AI automation. We've seen the share of entry-level roles in software development drop drastically since 2023. This is why youth unemployment data is so concerning even while overall employment holds steady. The junior role is disappearing. Companies are asking, why pay a junior to learn on the job when an AI agent can do the grunt work for pennies? It makes financial sense for the quarter, but it breaks the talent pipeline for the decade. If nobody hires juniors in 2026, where do seniors come from in 2030? Now, let's pivot to where the safety is. Let's talk about which jobs actually appear resistant to AI displacement in 2026, because this matters for anyone thinking about career moves. Healthcare roles, particularly those requiring physical presence and human judgment, are booming. Nurse practitioners are expected to see over 50% growth through the next decade. Physical therapists, home health aides, and counselors are in similar positions. We have found that while AI is great at diagnostics and paperwork, patients in 2026 still reject robotic interaction for sensitive care. It can't hold someone's hand during a difficult diagnosis. The human premium is real. Skilled trades are experiencing a massive renaissance. Construction workers, electricians, plumbers, and HVAC technicians do work that requires physical manipulation in unpredictable environments. The demand is at an all-time high because of infrastructure investment and, ironically, data center construction. The AI boom is creating construction jobs faster than it's eliminating other positions. Building the massive server farms required to run the models we use today requires thousands of electricians, HVAC specialists, and builders. These jobs are physically complex and geographically bound. You can't outsource them to an algorithm. The World Economic Forum actually predicts a 30% increase in professional agricultural roles by 2028. Turns out, AI struggles with the kind of improvised problem-solving required when you're knee-deep in mud dealing with equipment that breaks in ways the manual never anticipated. Personal services have also rebounded. Food preparation and serving jobs are adding positions rapidly. People still want to eat at restaurants served by actual humans. They want their hair cut by someone who can have a conversation. There's a social and experiential component to these jobs that technology hasn't replicated, and frankly, people don't want it to. Now, what about the jobs being created by AI itself? This is where the picture gets complicated. Yes, demand for AI specialists is through the roof. Machine learning engineers, data scientists, and AI researchers can essentially name their compensation. The number of workers in occupations requiring explicit AI fluency has grown sevenfold in the last 3 years. But here's the catch that frustrates so many people. The majority of these high-end AI jobs require at least a master's degree, and many require a PhD. These aren't accessible to most workers displaced from entry-level positions. The ladder from customer service representative to machine learning engineer doesn't exist in any practical sense. There's a more realistic middle path though, and this is where I want you to focus. We are seeing that workers with AI skills, not coding skills, but operational AI skills, command a massive wage premium compared to their peers. You don't need to become an AI researcher. You need to become competent at managing AI agents within your existing field. The skills employers want are changing faster than ever. In 2026, the treadmill is moving at full speed. Standing still means falling behind. So what does this middle path actually look like today? It means hybridizing your role. If you are a copywriter, you aren't just writing copy anymore. You are a language model manager, overseeing the output of 3 different AI agents, fact-checking them, adding the human nuance, and finalizing the strategy. You move from being the player to being the coach. The value isn't in the raw generation of text or code anymore. The value is in the curation, the strategy, and the integration. Let's look at the agentic workflow. 2 years ago, we used AI as a chatbot. We asked a question, it gave an answer. Today, in 2026, we use agents. We give a goal, and the AI executes a series of steps to achieve it. The employees who are surviving and thriving are the ones who know how to orchestrate these agents. They are the conductors of a digital orchestra. So what's the honest outlook here? Let me give you the realistic version for where we stand right now. If you're in a white-collar, entry-level, primarily digital role, your job market is hard. The positions that used to serve as on-ramps to professional careers are shrinking. Companies are discovering they can hire fewer juniors and augment senior employees with AI instead. You need to skip the junior phase. You need to use AI tools to produce senior-level output, even if you have junior-level experience. That is the only way to compete. You cannot afford to be average at a task that AI can do for free. If you're mid-career with deep domain expertise, you're actually in a strong position, provided you're willing to integrate these new tools. The combination of genuine expertise plus AI leverage is more valuable than either alone. Companies will pay more for this combination than they paid for expertise alone. If you're considering career paths, physical presence matters more than people expected. Skilled trades, healthcare, and roles requiring genuine human interaction are looking increasingly stable. The premium for remote work capability has inverted. Jobs that can be done entirely through a computer can increasingly be done by a computer. The timeline matters too. Even with the rapid advancements we've seen since GPT-4, economists estimate that only a single-digit percentage of U.S. employment is directly at risk of total displacement in the near term. That's significant but not catastrophic. The occupational mix is changing faster than in previous technological transitions, but society is adapting. What nobody can tell you with certainty is what happens if AI capabilities take another major leap this year. We're projecting based on current technology deployed at scale. Another massive jump in model reasoning capabilities would invalidate most predictions. That uncertainty cuts both ways, though. The optimists could be wrong, so could the pessimists. The people navigating this best aren't betting on AI failing or succeeding. They're developing skills that complement AI rather than compete with it. They're maintaining their domain expertise while learning to use new tools. They're keeping one eye on industries and roles where human presence still matters. It's not a particularly dramatic conclusion. No promise that everything will be fine. No warning that the end is near. Just the honest recognition that we're in a transition period that will create winners and losers, and your position depends largely on choices you make in the next few years. The data says this is manageable. The data also says it won't manage itself. You have to manage it. Thanks for watching.